So just give me a moment. Sorry, screen sharing. Right. Okay. Well, today the presentation was at the end, so I'll be using this small presentation. Yeah. So what we're talking about is open learning, and I think the visual kind of that we have chosen is kind of symbolic of open learning, where perhaps one of the most important thing is that we live in the moment. We are not trying to kind of only think about future and whatever career or whatever else people tend to think about. We're just living in the moment, where each one is, and trying to make the most of our day to day or week, or however you want to define your now as. So that to me is open learning. And when one does that, there is obviously a lot of possibilities, which is why I think of this whole thing as a continuum. There are a lot of words that people use: homeschooling, unschooling, and so on, open learning, free schooling, and obviously conventional schooling, which is on one end of the spectrum. The whole idea is that whatever words you use, the point is that at different point of time in our journey, we will be at different points. Sometimes we may go more structured, sometimes less structured, sometimes absolutely open, sometimes not at all open, when depending on what each child and the family is wanting at that point of time. So I would rather look at it as a journey than saying, oh, this is this and this is that. So in some ways, open learning embraces the whole spectrum without trying to say that, oh, this or that. But the issue is not with what you do or how you do. The core question is, why are we doing this, whatever we are doing? And that's a very interesting question. And so that's where we started off our journey, as in this why education. What's the purpose? And the answer, if we look around, seems to be career, job, from school to high school to college to higher college to job placements to job and so on. That seems to be the fast track. uh, but that can't be the purpose of education, or even living for that matter. So somehow we feel that the purpose of education is living, or rather they are synonymous. And if they are synonymous, then the core has to be the person or the child himself or herself, and the child has to lead it. It doesn't make sense that somebody else is telling me how should I lead my life. Then it's no more living, then it's some package that's given to me. So that's how we look at it, or rather we think open learning is all about the child deciding, and obviously assisted with the family and all that. So when we think of the child as the leader or the learner as the leader, and then the first thing is, we don't need to decide the curriculum. The learner or the child can decide, hey, what is it that I want to explore? Do I want to explore cooking, or do I want to explore badminton, or do I want to explore making electronics, or what? Or many things at the same time, not just one, all three of them maybe. And uh, kind of attached to the first one, the second one is, we don't really need to teach the child. Child can decide, or the learner can decide how, from where, what source, what resource, internet, YouTube, friend, from whom I want to learn, or maybe I just want to do, and that will bring me a lot of learning. Or it could be a combination of many things. Um, Also, the whole idea of self-assessment and self-reflection is the key driving and improving and growing force, rather than some examination telling me how good or bad I am. Right? So that's the third logical proposition. And if we kind of put these three all together, then we start looking at the so-called institutions, which is the school, college, or certifications, as only one options, and start realizing that if we keep them on one side, there are some maybe 50 or 100 more options. So then it's not the option, or not the default option, but one possible option, because there are so many other ways, yeah, to live one life. One doesn't have to go to school or college or I mean, that's just an option, right? And there are many more options which we can talk about if that is what the group wants to talk about. Um, yeah, so that's primarily what is open learning. A quick 1-minute video just to show you how children see themselves, which is pretty much they see themselves always, not always, but most of the time in now. They don't think too much about the future. They may have dreams, but that's a different thing. But they kind of live in the now. That's let's watch.
Connecting with people is amazing.
I like chit-chatting with my friends while eating.
An opportunity to take all the guests around the tour, around the campus.
Currently, I'm working on improving myself so that I can play in a club next year.
I get resources and support to fulfill my passion for sketching.
I sketch many things of animals, birds.
In Aarohi, I am a guest and I can find my space here, pursuing my interest on upcycling.
I drum to express my emotion and it makes me feel lighter. In bird watching, I learn a lot of things. What is color of bird and
I like the time when I spend with the community playing sports.
I spend time doing projects related to cinematography and video editing.
I like organizing trips in Aarohi क्योंकि your opportunity is to organize trips.
video making is awesome. It's productive and you get an awesome outcome.
I like to do electrical work. I've put many.
I connect with the planning here, gives me clarity.
I like playing with the cats. I learn crochet and teach others crochet.
எனக்கு சமைக்கிறதுக்கு இங்க ரொம்ப பிடிக்கும்.
All the resources here are new to me to explore.
Right. So I hope you notice that not each one is talking about some solid thing, like, like people consider, career kind of thing. People are just sharing, or rather children are just sharing what is coming to their mind, what is giving them joy now. And I think that's the beauty of when we don't separate life and learning and just assume that they are the same. And it becomes even more interesting for us because we do it as a community. So Aarohi is nothing but a whole lot of families coming together as a community and then doing a lot of different things. Because once we are there as a community of all ages, children, adults, grandparents also, hopefully, then we have lots of connections, and different people make different connections based on different reasons. And it leads to a lot of collaboration between different groups of people. Whoever is interested in dance will do dance together. Whoever is interested in trekking will do trekking together, and so on. And obviously, the whole community is invariably, coaching, mentoring each other, not just adults coaching, mentoring the children, but children doing that to other children and children doing that to even adults. So that's the beauty of being together. And yeah, the idea is to, with the support of everybody, co-create our own journeys and our own life. So that is what open learning and Aarohi put together is all about. Yeah, so that's a quick presentation. Hopefully that'll give you some starting ideas to start conversation. Already many of you have been part of this journey, so you already would have some thoughts. We also every Saturday bring in one theme. Dwiji, you want to share something about today's theme?
Yeah, sure. Thanks. Thank you, Ratnesh. So like Ratnesh mentioned, we just identify a small aspect of open learning as a theme for the day. Today, we decided to look at how different children, I mean, we can think of it as individuals. We don't just have to think of children, but each individual has their own dynamic, the way they learn, the way they do things, the way they live. And we feel that as open learning community, as a community of open learners, it is very important for us to reflect on this particular aspect and, and in some sense, give it the centrality that it needs, that we often miss out when we look at education, right? So typically we feel education is something that is one size fits all. At least that's the way it is till one comes to the 10th standard, and then afterwards there are some splitting up that happens. But again, it's like 100 people in the classroom, each one getting served the same thing. Now, irrespective of what your personal learning pace is, what your personal interests are, or whatever else your inclinations are at that point in time. So the idea of open learning, the way we practice it in the Aarohi community, is that each individual sets their own agenda, sets their own action plan, and does things, pulling in, like Ratnesh mentioned, pulling in the resources that they need in order to achieve that plan or implement that plan. And then at the end of the whole action, what we do is we look at our actions, look at ourselves before and after, and also look at things around us before and after, to reflect on, okay, how has what I did during the day, during the week, during this term, how has this changed me? How has it changed my surroundings, those around me, etc. So the idea is to focus each one's efforts in their own pursuits, rather than on something that Ratnesh wants to get done, or Abhilash wants to get done, or anybody else wants to get done. So as in any board or curriculum, or stuff like that. So that's the whole idea, that different children have different dynamics, and we as a community should nurture each of those initiatives, each of those sparks, and try to see how we can fuel that fire in each of them. So would love to have folks unmute themselves and share their thoughts and their experiences with regard to these aspects, or even questions for that matter. And I mean, initially we will discuss a little bit about this, and then we can move to more specific issues of how Aarohi, why Aarohi, what Aarohi, and stuff like that. So feel free to please unmute, and if you would prefer putting it down in chat, that's perfectly fine as well. Though, I mean, this conversation will be smoother if you can come live, and yeah.
Good.
So if there are no questions or no thoughts to share, then I would like to ask.
I think
Yeah, please,
Nitin
Nitin, go
was
ahead.
sharing. Yeah.
See what you just shared. No, I really appreciate, and I'm curious to know how did you guys think of starting these things. See, it's almost 2 decades. I'm really looking forward to different kind of approaches in learning, and I believe every child has a unique, uh, I would not call it as talent or whatever, but has a calling, right? And you here have tried, giving that space, right? So I'm curious to know what challenges you guys faced, and how are you able to sustain this for this longer period. I would a smaller duration of time and a smaller period of time people would come and go, but what really were the challenges you guys faced. And we can have this conversation when I am there on the campus, but if you can share on this call, that will be nice. Thank you.
Oh, yes. It's the easiest question to answer, because the answer is none at all. Absolutely no challenges. Yeah, because whatever happens is happening, and that's what is the fodder for learning. Right? So everything that happens is a fodder for learning for everybody. So, so there are no challenges, there are only happenings. And from happenings, there is doing, and from doing, there is some learning, and there's some reflection, and so on. Yeah. So
So,
Interesting.
Nitin, slightly different perspective. I don't think Aarohi is trying to achieve any particular thing, right? So, if you want to go establish that Aarohi is this great place that unparalleled with anything else, then all these things come up, right? Aarohi is not that. So therefore, it's like Ratnesh said, it is not something that we try to do at all. Each individual comes and does what they want to do, and we are there to share what we are doing, right? What tools we are using. Hey, this is a screwdriver. This is planning chart. This is how we do reflection, right? And this is how we play games. And this is how we snore. So it's not really, it's not that we are trying to drive a particular outcome here. Each individual has to do it themselves.
Okay.
Right? So if you're asking how does the campus run, that's a different matter. Right? But it's not like we are trying to get everyone to fit a mold or shape everyone into something. They will do that thing themselves. It's their responsibility. It's not Aarohi's responsibility.
Okay. Okay. Interesting.
I think I should stop.
No, I would love to really, catch up with both of you and others in Aarohi to understand the whole process, how it runs, how you guys are managing. Yeah. It'll be an interesting learning. Yeah. Thank you.
Hey, a question. Maybe it's an Aarohi question, or generally, like you have to like you just described that this is a screwdriver, whatever. You have some resource that the child has an opportunity to explore. So like Ratnesh, his son plays football 7 days a week. So if different kids have different needs of exploring stuff, what kind of the exploration or what kind of sports, for example, will they have an opportunity to pursue? For example, not necessarily as a goal, but if they like to play a specific sport, how would that happen? Is yeah, let me start here, I guess.
So are you saying how does that happen in open learning, or you're
no, I'm saying in Aarohi, if is how does an opportunity to explore a specific sport, or I'm thinking that I think that those kids come and stay in campus. So if they are on campus, yeah, so okay,
some of the time. Some of them, some of the time, some of the ways, right? So why I was asking it that way, because let's keep Aarohi little aside and let's look at open learning, because Aarohi is nothing but open learning. That in open learning, whatever is your interest, it could be embroidery, it could be a specific sports, let's say badminton, or it could be a let's say I want to do animation or whatever I want to do. The whole world is available as a resource. Yeah. Whether you're part of Aarohi community or not, that's immaterial. Even in Aarohi community, everybody has the whole world as a resource. Right? If I know that, okay, in a particular place, I will get what I want, I'll go there and get it. I'm not limited to any physical space. I'm not limited to any specific group of people. We keep telling every single person that you are the center of the universe. Now look around, everybody is all around you. Go ahead and connect with whoever you want to connect to. I'll give you an example. When my daughter was around, I think around 11 or 12, she said, I want to write a novel. I said, great, but I have never written a novel, so I can't really guide you. Even if I think I can guide you, that will be, not good for me to say, because I have never written a novel. So you find a novelist, an author whom you like. So she said, this author I like. Rupa Pai, it was the author. I don't know if you have heard of her. Okay. So she said, I like Rupa Pai. We said, okay, let's contact her and if she can guide you. And we contacted Rupa Pai and she said, surely, why not? And she guided my daughter. It's as simple as that. Can you believe it? It's as simple as that. People are out there, places are out there, all available. We think that no, it has to all come to the child. No. Learner has to go, to fetch the water if I am thirsty. And that's what people do in Aarohi, depending on what they want, where they want, how it can be connected to, they figure out. The first initiative is obviously of the child, and then the community supports.
Okay. So since you said, there is off campus or there is no physical limitation on where the child or the guest who needs to be there, me personally, even though we are on this, my kids are on the conventional schooling system. I think it's more about social interaction and peers that is one of the whole perspective for me, for them to go and engage with their peers in a school or in an environment where they can have like-minded people or in their age group and so on. So how could that be achieved in open schooling? Like if especially with these 2 years of COVID and kids being at home, we actually started this whole process of exploring other options because my son ends up being probably 8-9 hours on his laptop almost every day. I'm sure it's problem all over the world in this time period. So I personally, I would want him to be in the campus. Again, I know you're going to say that's his choice, but given a choice, you probably love to. So how would that interaction, how would you help making that interaction with his peer group in open learning?
So whom do you define as peer?
Anybody, anybody he wants to talk to, it could be his, his own age group. It may be an elderly person, or maybe somebody who has the same kind of interest.
Yeah. Right? So then, Arangan, wherever he is, he has peers all around him. Right? Whether he's in Madurai, whether he's in Aarohi campus. Sorry.
No. Unfortunately, right now he's in these most of the time the four walls in the house.
Yeah, sure. So maybe the four walls of the house right now looks limiting, but I'm saying let us start thinking that way. And even within four walls of the house, he can be connected, and collaborating with anybody and everybody, depending on what he likes and what kind of peers he wants to interact with, what are his interests. See, what I've seen is it's much easier to collaborate when you're working on a common interest, rather than forcing children or people of one age to kind of work together. So yeah, whether he's in Madurai, whether he's here, whether he's anywhere, there are children in Aarohi and adults in Aarohi from all over the country, and even some from abroad, who are all meeting, connecting, doing things together. So it is just a matter of people wanting to do something. For example, last year the community came up with the idea, hey, we are all confined to our homes. Why don't we create radio shows? So every month, initially, almost every alternate week, they started creating a half-an-hour radio show, and almost 15 to 20 people of all ages will come together and will create a half-an-hour radio show, which had drama, sing songs, this, that. Imagine a radio show on different themes. Like the one theme was horror, one theme was travel, like that, different theme. So people can come together, and they were all ages in that. And do anything provided they are excited about it. So the idea is to weave through not age or any other thing, but to weave through interests. And I think that happens automatically when you get people together, whether you get them online together or offline together, that is immaterial.
Okay. I let somebody else ask any questions.
So if somebody wants to take up, 10th, 12th or degree, if the learner wants to take up, so what's your view? As Aarohi, you would say go ahead and try it out, or what are your views on that?
So Nitin, if I come and tell you I want to do, I want to, let's say I want to dig. Yeah, I want to dig. Dig. DIG, dig. What would you say to me?
Go ahead. I mean, I would ask why and what for.
Exactly, why, right? So that's the question. First, we will ask anybody who says anything. If Duji says, I want to do embroidery, I will say, why? Okay, if Mrigang says, I want to fly kites, I would say, why? Now, why? Their answers could be as simple as, it sounds fun, or I enjoy doing it, so I'm doing it. What is this? Why? Or it could be something more specific. Let's say, I want to develop this particular art or this particular skill or whatever they come up with. So when people, there you go, which is already doing something with thread. Okay. Something that I admire about Vijay. He's all the time doing something, even on a call. Anyways, so if anybody comes for anything, so why only talk about 10th exam? Anything in their life, right? The question is always starts with why. What is the purpose? What is the reason? What is exciting to them in that? And the next question automatically is, how do they want to do it? And what support they needed. In fact, what support is also too early. Okay, you want to do it for this purpose. If the purpose is aligned, if you are clear how, start off. And as you go along, we will see how the community and what support you need. Meaning that everybody knows this community is there for me to help me. So I think that we don't need to talk about that too much. So yeah, I would pretty much just ask what you asked, why.
Thank you.
And in fact, that's a very interesting question, because if somebody comes in, says something, especially for 10th, 12th, nobody asks this why question nowadays. I don't think it was even asked when I did my 10th. Well, nobody asked me, why are you doing that? Right? I would have possibly run in the opposite direction. But
I would ask why, perhaps, for my college also.
Yes. Why 10th? Why 12th? Why college? So at least in my children's case, in both the first, when my daughter reached that age, we as a family asked this question, meaning, why would we want to do this? And none of us had any answer. So we said, no, let's not do it. So we never did 10th, 12th. She never did 10th, 12th or college. And it's the same as of now for son, meaning the why doesn't have an answer. So since there is no answer to that, why even do that? So, but that's not important whether you have an answer or not. The more important point is to ask the question why. So open learning in a way is not whether you do 10th or not do 10th, or whether you go to college or not. It's more important, have I explored all the possibilities? Have I understood for what I am doing? Why am I doing? How am I, meaning, how am I wanting to reach wherever I want to reach, and so on. If I have explored various options, possibilities, and tried few of them, and then I am deciding, okay, this path looks the best to me, fair enough. And if that includes a certification, no issues with that. But to say that I want to do this just because everybody else is doing seems to be, well, that's also a reason, if that is a reason, but yeah.
Thank you.
And Nitin, the other aspect is that what inevitably happens if we assume that certain things have to be done, right? Is that we kind of put on blinkers, right? And not just as individuals, but also as a community, as a family, as a community, right? So why do we need to do it like this is a question that we really need to ask in many different levels, not just at the level of 10th and 12th. So like Ratnesh was pointing out, it's not just for 10th and 12th that we would ask these questions. We would ask these questions even if Ratnesh says, I want to dig. I'm like, Ratnesh, okay, you will dig, but what are you digging for? If you're digging for gold, then you have to do a certain kind of dig. If you're digging for coal, you have to do a different dig. Or if you're digging to plant trees, that's a different dig altogether, right?
Yeah.
So the idea is that let's show him some gold. Let's show him some coal. Let's distract him or attract him with trees and whatever else, right? So, so when we say that explore, it's not just hey, okay, you go explore, do your exploration. No, the idea of open learning community is that we engage with each other. So just as much as Ratnesh would ask you, for example, or you would ask Ratnesh, there would be the counter question as well. As in, Ratnesh would, I mean, it's not just that I would be asked by Ratnesh or Ratnesh would ask me. We would both ask each other. And that is the interactions that we, Arangan, you were asking, right? About peer-to-peer interactions. That is the whole idea of Aarohi, that you interact at every different level that you feel like interacting. Hey, Ratnesh, why are you doing this thing? Right? So anybody can come and ask that. Not just those in my classroom or those who I consider as teachers. Right? So Ratnesh is not going to say, hey, you don't bother me, right? I'm not going to answer you. It's not in the question paper.
So these children or any adult there on the campus would come and say, I mean, this is what I would like to do. So there's perhaps a conversation, right? That's what I'm hearing, that why and what support, etc., and then finalize and start off. Is that, I mean, everybody has their own plan then, right?
Yeah.
Come back, reflect, and then
so
learn and move on. Yeah.
So I'll give one wild thing that happened a long time ago when my daughter Ibni started at campus. She also started swimming, and she really liked swimming. But I think she had already started swimming by then. So for a while, she was like, we have to build a swimming pool on campus. And then she realized, oh, it's not going to be happening very easily because water is very scarce in that area. So then she decided, okay, she will join a swimming class here in Bangalore. We live in Bangalore. So weekends when she comes home, she will go to swimming. So that's the arrangement that she has figured out and now that she is doing. And there's a pond near campus, and whenever Friday outings are happening to the pond, she is bindas, swimming her life out. So yeah, so that heart out, not life out, but swimming heart out. So yeah, I mean, they find their solutions. We don't have to find it for them.
Okay. So sorry, can I?
And they might also decide to drop it, and that is okay.
Interesting. That was my next question. Yeah, thanks. So they might decide to drop anytime, switch to some other topic altogether, and that's okay, right?
No, it's not okay. It is welcome.
Yes.
It is embraced. Because see, we change as adults, we have changed things in our lives, right? Nitin, you were just sharing how you have changed various things that you do in your life, right? So I'm pretty sure each one of us does different things every now and then, right? So why do we expect that children will not do changes, right? So yeah, it's not just about being okay with it. It is about embracing it, and also again going back, asking that question, why?
Okay. Interesting. Like a regular institutions, we how many children have passed out. That's the question generally of the institutions. So how many children are experiencing Aarohi, online, offline, Aarohi X, Aarohi immersive, whatever. So how many are there in this community connected, if I may know?
Vijay, what's roughly around 40 families?
Yeah,
roughly around that number. Yeah.
Did we ever count?
Yeah, we don't count. That's why I'm like asking Vijay.
So roughly 40 at this point in time. I mean, over the last 20 years, what about how many, Ratnesh? About at least a few thousand families. And see, Nitin, I mean, Aarohi is not a school.
I know.
Right? So they don't graduate out of Aarohi.
That's why I told regular schools or institutions, we ask this question. But for Aarohi as an open learning community, I was just curious to know, many would have come, learned, experienced,
Yeah. And and the idea of ROE and these interactions that we are having in these Saturday meetups is not to make it as if you have to come to ROE if you want to do open learning.
Yeah.
Right. So that's why Ratnesh was saying sometimes on campus, sometimes off campus, sometimes here, sometimes there. Right. So it's not that Aarohi is the the rubber stamp where you can get your certificate stamp saying yes, you are an open learner.
And 60% of your time you have to be on campus doing hands-on. I know.
Yeah. The idea is also that whether you are connected to Aarohi community or not is a smaller question. The more interesting one is, would you like to explore as a family the whole journey of open living and open learning? I think that's the core agenda of these Saturday and all our efforts, because different as the whole theme of today's thing, it's not just different people, different dynamics, different learner, different dynamics, different families, different dynamics. So given that, it's more important that we kind of encourage or embrace people's ideas of how they want to do open learning, where they want to do open learning, or how, with whom they want to connect. We encourage people to start or connect and make their own local groups, because as you said, maybe Madurai has few people, Arangan, or so what we're trying to say is that it need not be limited to ROE in any which way. Obviously we have one community to offer whoever wants to be part of it, but the core idea is that can we talk and bring this into a conversation mode, this whole idea of open learning. Otherwise there's too much of default thinking. The day the child is born, abhi to he for now school say high school say college say post graduation, then job, whatever career. It's too well laid a track. So the whole idea is to get into more conversations as to, okay, that track is fine, great, awesome, but there are so many other possibilities. So just think about them before you decide. That's the whole idea.
I think we have Dr. Bhairavi has also been joining our sessions quite often, and Tahura, if you would also like to share your thoughts and
or questions
or more questions, of course. Mrigang has been quite quiet today.
No, I am just no, though because you are elder to me, I just taking all the experiences what you guys are talking about, right? So I was just taking that up to me now, and probably then I can say something. I will do that. I will do it surely. I have something to talk about, but I'm just taking out others' perspectives also and what they are talking about.
Sure.
Hello. Good
Hi,
evening.
please.
I've been off and on quite often. I do try and attend on Saturdays, but I don't end up doing. But every time I question after, I've actually attended 5 or 6 properly, like from start to end, and I've been, seeing the recorded videos as well. But every time after seeing the sessions, every time I question myself, somewhere down the line, I get the answers also myself, just thinking on those lines. So sometimes that scares me also. I don't know why, but it does scare me sometimes. I feel like, what do I ask? Like, I make a list of it, but at the end of it, I kind of, I'm like, yeah, that's what it is. It gets down to very simple stuff. Yeah, one. It gets down to very simple stuff. And sometimes it's scary, but I had a question today when you kept mentioning, like I've heard this quite often when you were explaining you always mention something as a family. So that was one of my questions. Like, I don't know, I haven't really spoken about this at large to anyone in the family, but what if everyone's not on the same page? Can we still, like, as a parent, I can, I know, but is it like comfortable for the child then? That was because there would be difference of opinions on in the same, house. So that is something I wanted. If somebody's experiences or something, if you could throw some light on that.
Sure, sure. Tuji, you want to share first?
Yeah, sure. I don't mind. So, see, the different children, different dynamics is what we call the topic for the day. But it's not just children; it's everybody, different people, right? So each one moves at their own pace, works at their own way. I mean, if we look at our fingers, we call it the opposing thumb, right? So if we don't have an opposing thumb, then our hand is of very little use, right? So just because we have someone within our family in our hand, we have an opposition, doesn't mean that it's a given, it's a gone case and we can't do anything. It's about how we look at things and what we draw from it, I feel, because the idea of open learning is something that we all do all the time. Avni, one of our young friends in the community, she made a very good observation. Saturday, Sundays, everybody is an open learner because you have to decide what you do. You don't have your boss or your shop or someone else to tell you what you should do, right? So, in that sense, if we look at family dynamics, and everything is a negotiation. I'm sure that, I mean, when we decided to have a child, that was a negotiation, and when we decided to get married, that itself was a negotiation, right? So we negotiate at various levels, and it's about recognizing that and respecting the other individual and their views. So not everyone moves at the same pace, and we in the community don't insist that, oh, you are 5 people on your ration card or on your passport or whatever document you have, so all 5 of you should be present. No, we do not do that. We do not do that. But the idea is that one person taking on everything for the others is not advisable. You do what you want to do, right? And your child does what he or she wants to do. At the same time, when we have an ecosystem where each of us is doing things and discussing about it, talking about it, and sharing what we are doing, that really helps everyone around, not just the children, but even the adults. And that's the idea of looking at open learning families rather than individuals. Because we as a community are, like, as individuals, quite selfish. We want as many people to come, and or rather we want to pull in as many people as we can. When you give us a finger, we will pull your whole hand. I mean, I'm just putting it in a very casual way, but the idea is that we would like to engage as many people as possible, and that way it's not just an individual but rather as a family that we ask. Ratnesh or Abhilash?
Yeah, we can take others' view about it. You actually covered it quite well. As Vijay was mentioning, I also think that far more important than, let's say, convincing is conversations. So if two people don't agree, or rather, I used to have a poster. Now it's no more there. It's got torn, which used to say that if two people agree, one is redundant. So it's good that two people are disagree, because then there will be conversations. And if people are conversing, and if I am the one who is seeing, oh, I am thinking differently, so let me engage people in conversations. rather than convincing. And just like Dviji mentioned right at the beginning, we aren't here to with an agenda that, okay, that Aarohi should be able to achieve this. And when you don't have an agenda, then all conversations flow multiple times, as many times. And what it sprouts is something which, as the conversations grow, it will sprout. Right? Where that will lead you and your family to when different conversations happen over a period of time and they keep happening is something we can't predict. We don't even want to predict because there's no outcome in mind. There is only a lot of discussions, a lot of questions, a lot of thinking, a lot of exploration. And which is why we say open learning is about possibilities, not about definities. Like I guarantee your career or whatever, that, or I guarantee your future. It's not about that at all. So I think rest Duji has already shared it quite well. So please welcome all different opinions in your family and enjoy the journey.
And so that the only reason I wanted to ask is a conversation or welcome, but that when you start with a very young child, that doesn't really make them uncomfortable with the whole idea, right? That's the reason I wanted to, like ask if there's been a family like that or something, because when they're very small and when they see opposing views,
Oh, you are saying to
do
the
they
child?
find their way out?
You're saying
the
for the
child,
child?
I'm
Oh, don't
talking
worry about
the
the child. It's good. The child is getting 2 exposures in one price. One ke saath one free.
I know.
What beauty, right? Child is getting double the exposure. So please welcome. Children, confusion is good. Confusion is the genesis of all learning. If I'm not confused, if I'm not seeking, if I'm not wondering, where am I learning? I'm not learning. In fact, little children are all the time thinking, will this happen? Will that happen? And all they do is they keep trying and keep exploring. That's why they keep throwing things, that's why they keep licking things, they keep picking things. They are the most courageous of them all. So the little baby in your hands is the real open learner. We are all pseudo open learners.
She's made me one. That's the reason.
Yeah. See, I have a slightly different view on that from what Ratnesh is saying. I feel it is important that children see how we deal with, as adults, how we deal with people who disagree with us. In fact, unless we do that, how do we say, you respect those who don't like your views, right? I mean, when you practice it in front of them and they see it in action, you really don't have to tell them, right? The whole
That's the biggest
idea
social skill, Duji.
Exactly. It's a very critical thing that is missing in our lives, where we talk to people who we don't agree with, right? Because having a respect for the individual and yet at the same time the strength of conviction that, hey, this is what I want to do and I would like to talk to you about it, right? I think those are very critical skills that I would love if our children picked it up sooner rather than later, right? So the conversations, yeah.
Yeah, I have something now, Ratnesh and Duish, to share probably. Yeah, so I was just hearing about everybody's thing, right? So my son is 4-year-old, and now because of peer pressure, I have been gone to a school and wanted to him admitted. Right? Peer pressure of parents and other people around the society, right? So what has happened? Like when I have, and it is a good school in Sajapur. I don't want to take the name again, but yeah. So the interaction has happened. It was on Zoom call, and my son was sitting on the chair, and the teacher says that he shows a cardboard written M, and my son says it is M, and it says W as well, right? And the teacher says no, it's M, and then the conversation started happening. No, it's W also. But I know it was so furious to me. I was angry about it, and they said, why cannot teacher can say that yeah, it is W as well, because his perspective is two perspectives, right? It can be W as well, right? So that is one thing. The other thing that teacher has come up with the word called AA, and he said, what is the phonetics about it? I said, what the hell they are doing now? I mean, why do you want you probably 4-year guys to know about the phonetics. A is A, not A, right? And this is one of the things which I've experienced when I have, and then I have talked to one of my friend whose children is already in his school. So he's saying that it is okay. And I said, how come it is okay? Why do you say it is okay? And when I see his children, and I feel very pity looking at his children. And he makes him write A, B, C, D on the square books. And he have lost his interest to do that. And that is where I feel pity. So that is one of the reason I have withdrawn this my admission from that school. And then one fine time, what happened? My sons look out a video in YouTube, Blippi. There is something called Blippi who gives you the more exploration of the world, right? So I have given a whiteboard and a marker. So he come one day and he wrote that BLIPPPI. And then how did you wrote it? I said, I just watched that and wrote it. And I said, that's okay. So the question is that, why somebody cannot question it? And if somebody is questioning it, somebody and other way of the person says that, no, that's not good, right? So questioning is something that, has to be inculcated in ourselves, maybe. And that is what the children has to be. And but when this interaction with the teacher, they are just saying, no, that is what M is, it's not W. Right? They are not very open to it. And then when I was talking to my elder brother, he was connected with Aarohi probably 4 years back. And he gives his children, the younger one, for the open learning. So that is where I have started learning about it. And then I thought, I was trying to, attend this Zoom meetings on Saturday, but somehow I did not got a chance. And this day I have got that. So that's what my experience is all about.
Yeah, thank you, Mrugant, for sharing that. See, I feel that there is, I don't know how much exposure you have with regard to Aarohi, but Aarohi is not a school. So there's no one to teach, anybody, this is how you do things, unless someone comes and asks. And even then it is more like, okay, here are some resources, or what are the kinds of resources that you think you need, right? More than, here, take this, this is what you need to do. That's not going to happen in Aarohi, right? So, but if someone comes and says, hey, I want to learn phonetics, even if that kid is 4 years old, we are not going to discourage that, right? If somebody comes and says, hey, I want to build a rocket, we are not going to discourage that. We're like, okay, cool. Where do you want to start? Right? So the reason I'm putting this forward is that let's not feel that Aarohi is this lovey-dovey place where everything is, soft and warm and loving and everything, right? I mean, we are very loving people, we would like to think, but we also ask a lot of questions, sometimes stupid questions, right? So, so it's a learning center, it's a learning community, and therefore, sorry, and not just any learning community, it is a self-directed learning community where each individual, whether they are 4 years old or 40 or 500, no, well, not 500, we say 99, right? So 99 years old, they set their direction. So Ratnesh is not going to say, you're 78 years old, you should not be doing this work. Right? So, yeah. So let's be very, we are a little grounded when it comes to these aspects, that, hey, if a 4-year-old wants to comes and says that I want to learn phonetics, we'll be like, super. Yeah.
And last week, not a 4-year-old, a 9-year-old said, I want to learn aquaphonics. I said, this is better than learning phonics. So we made an aquaphonics last week. So it's working now, Dviji. So from phonics, I remembered that.
Yeah, I have a big thing about aquaponics, hydroponics, all
I
these
know, I
ponics.
know. I'm saying so.
I
That's the beauty, right? The what I think what what Vijay says is whether I subscribe to something or not is nothing to do with what others may want to explore, right? And that's the beauty of this different dynamics, the theme that we were talking about, that each one has their own ambitions, own ideas, own designs of not just for themselves, their world. If somebody comes and says, I want to rob a bank, I'll say, interesting, let's work on that. Let's see how we can rob a bank. Um, Including
have to
learning
share
its
this.
legal implications. Right? We're not trying to say that we'll only look at the act of robbing a bank, but including understanding what does it mean to rob a bank.
Yeah. So Ratnesh's daughter Asavri contacted me recently saying, "Hey, Vijay uncle, I want to know your opinion about this." And I remember talking to her earlier about something similar. And I said, "Look, I have a lot of strong opinions about it." And she said, "That's exactly why I want to talk to you." So I said, "Okay, let's do it on Friday or Saturday." I just remembered it now when we were talking about this, that hey, that conversation is still due. So yeah.
I have one small question. When kids, like my daughter, she lives in a community where her age group kids are there who go to school, regular schools. So now, when she is into this open learning thing, so how will she answer certain questions like, why don't you go to school? How do you learn? What do you do whole day? How will she manage all that? I'm still not sure of that. Just want to put it out so somebody can say something about it, so I'll be a little at rest, at peace.
Tell me, first of all, sorry, Dviji, before we say anything, it is her problem, okay, and she'll have to find her. Why are you worried about it?
Correct.
Ratnesh, no, worry about it. Ask her the answer. Don't ask us the answer.
But right now, at present, she doesn't know about open learning and all. She might say, my parents wanted me to do this, so I'm doing this.
Exactly.
So
So she
is
managed
that
it.
like, when will she learn to understand all these?
Hold on, Arpita, you're assuming that she is going to follow what your desires are.
No, I don't think she will. I've seen her. I've seen her at present also. I struggle. Then I thought, okay, it's not the way to teach her, so let her go free.
Yeah, good. So you already have a teacher next to you. So ask your teacher, na. Why are you asking us? She's already teaching you so many things.
That is for sure. That is for sure.
Yeah. And no, I mean, on a slightly different note, see, kids have a very good way of dealing with things. They don't use the same yardstick everywhere. Just the same way that we don't use the same yardstick everywhere. Somebody at the door comes and he's selling milk or flowers or something, and they ask something. We will answer in some way. But at the same time, somebody calls and asks something, we answer in a different way, right? So they see this day in and day out. They are seeing how life is lived by adults around them. And they have their ways of dealing with adults as well as other children. Not just parents, by the way.
For all you know, she may convince another 10 of them to join open learning.
That will be great, actually.
Yeah. Cool. So we have a few more minutes before we usually pause for the week. We have a bunch of recordings of the previous sessions. So if you haven't checked it out yet, do feel free to see. I mean, this is the 101st episode that we are doing, or meetup that we are having. So there are at least 80 odd other recordings that we have online. And not just of these sessions, but also other videos are there and a whole bunch of stuff. And the website has many resources. We also have a social media group on Telegram. So if you are curious, you are welcome. And of course, we are on Facebook as well. So if you would like to follow us there, that's most welcome. And we are trying to get our Instagram act together as well, I believe. So slowly we are getting some stuff on Instagram as well. But the most important and fun time is the Saturday meetups, I feel. So I mean, this happens every Saturday. It's not just, once in a while. It happens every Saturday. So feel free to join and spread the word around and ask questions. Don't hesitate if you didn't ask it today, or you can come back anytime and shoot off a question and add your own thoughts to it. And the whole idea of these meetups is not to convince you that you should do open learning. It's just to show how we do open learning, and we hope that you will, some of it will rub on to you. Whether you join Aarohi or not doesn't matter. But if you start questioning, asking that question why for everything, to yourselves and to those around you, I mean, we feel that we have had some effect on you.
I have a question, may I?
Sure,
It's
sure.
regarding, I have two children. I don't know whether you remember. I have a 7-year-old and a 17-month-old. So I wanted to know, like, I couldn't attend the January Jagriti meet. I wanted to know that what should I go in for first? Like Jagriti, you have a self-directed learning group, something like that also, right? And you have Aarohi X also. So what would you suggest that I go in for first?
Okay,
I know
in
all of
terms
them
of program, yeah, I would suggest Jagriti first, and in any case, chronologically also Jagriti is first. Aarohi X, because Aarohi X is different. That's the community. Joining community has got nothing to do with Jagriti or attending any program. That's purely to do with open learning. If you want to be part of the community, you're most welcome. Right. And as I said, that has got nothing to, it's not a course or anything. It's just being part of the community and both giving to the community and getting from the community by interacting, by doing things together, by connecting with different people. It could be parents like me and you, or it could be children like me and you, as in all of us, right? The whole community, the whole gang of all ages. So that's the Aarohi X part. That is the online community or the campus community. So those are the two spaces. So that is nothing to do. In terms of program, yeah, meaning as such, you can again do any program first. I'm saying chronologically, since Jagriti is coming up in June, if you want, you can join the June batch. And yeah, and the other program, the self-directed learning is in November. So if you want, you can join that. It's actually none of the programs are dependent on anything. So that's anyway open. Yeah.
Oh, thanks.
Okay, Nitin is asking now what is Jagriti program. Yeah, Nitin, in one line, it is basically, we call it as an unparenting, unlearning program. Again, trying to look at parenting and learning in many different ways rather than one way, rather than saying this is the right way or the wrong way. Just exploring many perspectives. So that's what the program tries to do, to explore different perspectives. Obviously using the group's energy. So it's a very interactive program where the groups also feeds in a lot of stuff, and that's how we build many perspectives on different aspects of our learning and living.
Okay. Is this an online program or?
Yeah, it's an online program. Yeah. Okay, I will give you
I'll explore on your website. Yeah.
Yeah, I am also typing the link for that. Yeah.
Actually, it's about time that we also pause for the day, I think.
Yeah.
Unless Mrigank or Tahura, Arangan, Bhairavi, if you have any questions, we can talk some more, or we can pause for today and meet again next Saturday.
Yeah, I think that's good enough. There's also festival, so people have to do things. Yeah, I think we can pause here. Yeah, those who have festival today. So yeah, we can pause today here, and yeah.
Okay.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
See
Yeah,
you. See you soon.
see you
Yeah.
soon. Yeah.
Yeah.